Hi folks, Steven here. So this is going to be another Pokemon Go Community Day recap. So let's see. Of course, this weekend was today I should say, was the Seedot Community Day. So that's what we got on this time. It's the second in the series of ones where they've changed the things around so that you can do more stuff from home instead of on the go. So bit of an odd scenario there. So we're kind of going to talk about that. Maybe a little bit of site business. We're recapping some stuff. Thank you to everyone who tuned in yesterday for Anna and I's discussion of the music of Hey You Pikachu. That was a lot of fun. We got to simulcast that on the Pokecasters Network live stream. That was really nice to be able to do that and expand our audience a bit. And they might still be taking donations. I'm not sure, but if you didn't get a chance to do that yesterday, that is, I believe, certainly still the Children's Hospital will still take your money in Pittsburgh, which is who we were raising money for. So, but that was a lot of fun. Got to hear from a lot of different folks across the network. But today, oh hey, we have Anne. Hi, Anne. May as well put her on here.
Hello.
All right. Hi, Anne.
How's the evening going?
Oh, just fun. Let me toss my headphones on. We're going to do the first part of this is going to be actually, I invited Anne on here because we did not get yesterday to do our discussion, excuse me a second, of the actual game itself for Hey You Pikachu. Of course, Anne is at quite a disadvantage having not played the game there. But we still have some things we want to talk about. So, Anne, you can stick around for now. I'm going to go through the presentation on the Pokemon Go Community Day. If you have any comments, go ahead and talk those in there. Thanks for dropping by. We thought we might use this time since Anne has some time today. Once I finish the recap, we'll readjust and do some stuff about the Pokemon Go Community Day. So, hopefully that all works out. All right, so what I usually do here, as usual, I have a, let's see if I can get it. All right. So there's a small chance that this could screen sharing could, but it sounds like they're trying to get that fixed. Application window for the PowerPoint slideshow. As usual, I've put together a slideshow that illustrates some of the things there. And do you do a lot of Pokemon Go type stuff lately, or how does that work?
Well, definitely not lately. When it first came out, I did a fair bit, but I've kind of fallen behind.
I was just kind of curious about this since we have you on for this portion of the discussion at the moment. But just
my friends
how that all works for you.
Are super into it, so I'm kind of living vicariously through them.
All right. Well, I'm going to work through it. Gotcha there. All right. Well, looks like we've got a little bit of lag between you and me, but I think we're still going to be okay. In any case, so I like to do these presentations. I like to start off with the Community Day weather. Even though I'm stuck indoors for most of this, I still feel it's important to put the weather in there. For those of you who don't know, I'm based over here in Madison, Wisconsin. And as you can see, last month, Saturday the 25th, we had a high of 56 on a normal of 61, a low of 38 on a normal of 39. All these are in Fahrenheit, by the way. I don't have the weather for today yet because today was the Community Day. But yesterday, the high was 73 on a normal of 71. Low was 54 on a normal 48. Today, it was supposed to actually get into the 80s, so I got to wear shorts. They're nice and comfy. Wind, not too much last month or this month. But we were able to pull all that through there. So that's kind of the weather thing for that. So I always like to put that in there. We're definitely getting into summer. Definitely a fair bit above average today, especially. But all right, so today was the Seedot Community Day, and as with last month, they added a thing where you can spend about $1, and you can. First of all, it's longer than usual, 6 hours instead of 3. And stuff lasts longer than it normally would otherwise. But you can also buy this for $1. You can buy this little tour guide type thing where you have a bunch of tasks, specific tasks related to the Pokemon that's featured to do. This time around, we got seeing double, not seeding double. They could have been even more punny there, I suppose. But that you have to complete that during the course of the event this weekend. Unlike last month, the screen did not glitch out here. You may remember when I did last month's the Abra Community Day. That didn't. This didn't look correct, although I could still buy it. This time it looked correct. The one thing you did not get any sort of medal like you did for the last one. I can assume that would actually probably get pretty stacked up there. And as much as I liked the one, it was nice to have, but it wasn't super special either. All right. So first off. I did remember to buy this right at the beginning of the day to get the thing there. So we've got Professor Willow there's a little bit of a storytelling aspect to this when it starts, and it sort of gives you your little tasks there. And I don't know, have you taken a look at one of these before or something like that?
Yeah, I have. My friends did the April Community Go Day, actually. I didn't pay a ton of attention. I was just there for the walking out in the sunshine. But yeah, they actually did follow the little tour guidey thing and complete the tasks.
Yeah, some of it, based on the one from last month, this one is pretty similar architecturally. It has a lot of the same tasks. Obviously, you're going to be catching a lot of Seedot through the course of the afternoon there. So you've got your first task. It's divided into 4 segments, although there are really only 3. You have to catch 15 Seedot. You have to power up your Pokemon 10 times. And you have to make 5 nice throws. And then you get rewards for each of those, and then some combined rewards. You notice one of those is actually an incense, which is, to be honest, really nice. Because that's very effective. I don't know how effective it was before, but it's definitely effective now. So that stuff wasn't too difficult. However, remember actually, let's go on to this first. So I want to slightly compare the regular Seedot on the left and the first shiny I encountered, on the right. The one on the right, of course, has more of a brown coloring to the bottom portion of it. And Seedot, these are both, I believe, male. No, these are both female, I think, because the male one, I think, has little sprouts on top of its head, and the Seedot here, those are both female because they have just a little thing there. And they do look like an acorn, which I think Professor Willow mentions at one point there. I don't know how opinionated you are, Anne, on shinies and stuff like that. Any thoughts on this one?
I mean, it's really cute. I like the darker color, actually, just as a design sense. But at the end of the day, we love them all, shiny or not.
All right. Well, one thing I wanted to try out last month I didn't get a chance to, I believe, is remote raid passes. Yes. So this time around, you have to buy them from the store, and I had to buy them. This time around, they were in the store when I took a look there. I don't know what was going on, if they weren't ready yet last time or what. But within the range, there seems to be, I'm not sure exactly how far it goes, half a mile to a mile or something like that, or a kilometer or something. I'm not sure exactly how far it goes, but I am within range of a couple of different gyms, including this one, which relatively early in the window spawned a Terrakion raid. Now, that was the good news. The kind of the bad news is that this is a level 5 raid since it's a legendary / mythical. And I had a remote raid pass, but no one else seemed to show up for this one. So yeah, even though it is kind of on the fringe of the area here. I don't want to give too many details so you can figure out where I live precisely, but maybe not. It doesn't have the most of the housing around here that's within range, but there should be a decent amount. And I'm sure, obviously, not everyone is playing Pokemon Go. And it's a holiday weekend here. Tomorrow's Memorial Day. Reference to Nobody Don't Like Christmas there. But it is a holiday tomorrow, so that may have affected some things. In case you're curious, our quarantine stuff lets up a little bit on Tuesday around here in Madison. But in any case, that went about as well as you could expect. So yeah, after about 3/4 of the time elapsed, I managed to survive through about 2/3 of the time on 6 Pokemon. But you can see I didn't do a ton of damage there. I needed about 4 or 5 or 6 other people to really have a shot there at the raid. So I decided to cut my losses there and not rejoin the battle. So that didn't work out so great. But I figured I'd give it a shot anyway. It didn't go so bad for what I had. I had a couple of Alolan Executor, which of course are, Grass and Dragon. That Grass type is very good against Terrakion, which is, I think, fighting Rock, if I remember correctly. So that part worked about as well as it could, but not nearly enough there. So kind of unfortunate, and not my best first experience with remote raid passes. I did try a few more later on that we'll talk about. I don't suppose, Annie, have you done anything with the remote raid passes?
No, again, just living vicariously through others who seem to really enjoy it. I'm sure if they had been in your neighborhood, they would have been all over that Dragon.
Yeah, we'll see how things go. The place I work at, which I will also only give so many hints for, has a fair number of gyms in the area. We'll see how those work out, maybe, since I still have 1 or 2 remote raid passes left over. But yeah, so that was what happened with Terrakion. All right, so this is one of the things you can do is if you take an AR photo of one of your Pokemon. The one on the left is a Nidoran female that I've been walking around with to build up the candies on that. And then the one on the right, I needed to take a picture of a rock Pokemon to complete. I think this is some of the Sinnoh stuff that they're doing. Let's see. And so I need to take a picture of a rock Pokemon. So I happen to have a Kabutops. I could do that. But of course, we had a nice little visitor there. The Seedot appears. And I think that makes one spawn near you or something like that. I forget how it exactly all works. They've done this before with like the clone Pokemon when Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution came out and some of the other stuff there. I do find it interesting, the top part there, the texture looks a lot better, maybe just because it's a straight line on there versus the bottom portion. I don't have a super advanced phone, so I try to turn this on the low performance mode. So we'll see how all that works. The models in the back don't look too bad. They're a little further back, of course, but they look reasonably sharp there. So yeah, that's kind of a funny little feature there.
I love that it looks like.
All right. Well, I was able to put. That's basically what it is. I think they even refer to it using that term or something similar. But yeah, I was able to complete the first set of tasks. So you get the second set of tasks here. So for this part, I had to catch more Seedot. Had to transfer Pokemon to the professor, which wasn't actually all that hard to find stuff to. It sort of encourages you to clean out your supply of Pokemon. And then we had to evolve 3 Seedot. Now, I'm not sure why. The incense there is a different, it changed from green to orange in the middle there. I'm not sure precisely why that is. But you see Professor Will, they pull a lot of stuff, I think, from the Pokédex entries on these. So, and other internal or official stuff, I guess you could say. In this particular case, what they do is they talk about how it attaches to a tree and sort of pulls in the moisture and stuff like that, and it makes its body glossier. So that's kind of neat stuff there. Each phase of this had 2 or 3 or 4 things from Professor Willow that sort of had a little small story that would progress in there. So that was actually quite a bit of fun. Okay, and then let's see. So I did evolve that, and actually there's a Nuzleaf shiny. It looks a little bit more like a pumpkin, to be honest, kind of there. It kind of does. Of course, they use Trapinch for the October one usually because, of course, it kind of looks even more like a pumpkin. So yeah, there. And once I got through with that, that took me a little while to complete, and I finally got to level 3. And It mentions some stuff about how it can make a flute out of the leaf on its head and all that fun stuff. And some of the stuff here on this level 3 is not too bad. Obviously, evolving a Nuzleaf, you just have to have 100 candy to do that. Transfer 10 Pokemon, not too difficult. The one that they put on here, they had this last month as well. Make 3 great curveball throws. So you may remember if you saw my video last month, I had a lot of trouble with this. It was a lot easier this time because I knew some of the tricks there. It was still nowhere near perfect. It's probably not something I'm going to do on an average basis just because of the risk involved and stuff like that. But that gave you 20 candy there for the Seedot candy. And the prizes there, you notice the one on the bottom right is the Rocket Radar. Have you done anything with the Rocket Radar, Ann? I'm just curious. Or the Team Rocket in general in Pokemon Go?
I've fought them a few times. Whenever there's those, I don't know if they're really events, but those times when they're like taking over, you have to rescue the Pokemon, and I've done that a few times, but I've not done much with like the radar.
Well, you definitely want to study up on that because it'll come up when we get to the Pokemon Coliseum and Gale of Darkness games.
Oh boy.
Since they're shadow Pokemon there, they work not completely dissimilar, but not quite the same either. But yeah, so I did manage to get the things here, but I did manage to do a fair bit of evolution here as well. The middle one is what a shiny Shiftry looks like. It's got kind of a darker complexion to it, I guess you could call it that. And one of the things with this, one of the reasons why you do this, is that your final evolution will have a semi-exclusive move. In this case, it's a Leaf Blade, as opposed to a I don't know what else it can learn normally, but it has Bullet Seed and Leaf Blade. So that's a pretty good combination there, I suppose. And it took me a while to get enough to keep evolving a couple other things. So let's see here. Yeah. So Curveball Throws, I had mentioned those earlier. That was one of the tasks you had to complete for this one. And that was not as bad as last time. It took me a while to figure out that you could take the you could fling the Pokeball from the left or the right side of the screen and curve it so it would end up in the center. I think it was also easier this time around because although Seedot can jump, it does not levitate above the ground like Abra does. So I think that makes it a lot easier than last month. I only spent about 10 or 12 balls to get the 3 great curveball throws. So certainly a little more familiarity and stuff like that. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. So yeah, I said that there's really only 3 parts just because part 4, everything is sort of unlocked right away, but they are different rewards. You can take a look there in the middle. And then it pulls, Willow pulls a thing on the left from the Pokedex for Shiftry, how it does 100 feet per second. I don't remember, I guess that equates to about 30 meters per second. I forget what that equates to in like miles per hour and stuff like that. And then you can see Shiftry, a regular non-shiny one on the right-hand side. After you complete everything for one of these things, you get to encounter the fully evolved form of whatever that week's or that month's Pokemon is for the community day. So that worked out nicely. Let's see, I think next slide. Oh, I wanted to talk about the in-game shop. So usually they encourage you to buy the community day box, which includes some stuff. And there's also the special box. And usually I would buy the community day box because it's community day, but I think it's the special box. It says it's on, well, it says they're all on sale. I don't know what the regular price is for the special box, but I don't know, the special box is still like less than half, almost a third of the price of the bigger one. And it does seem like in many ways is a better value. I mean, you get what, 1 less incense. You don't get a TM. You get a raid pass or a battle pass. Some incubators. You don't get the lucky eggs. So I bought the one on the left because you still get the same number of Ultra Balls, which are pretty useful there. And do you have any thoughts here? Which one do you think is a better value?
I mean, I guess it depends on what you want. For my part, I'd go with the one with the lucky eggs because I just always enjoyed those.
And
Yeah.
not sure if we're getting a good
Oh
response
dear.
there or what.
Well, yeah, like I say, I guess it really just depends on what you want. For my part, I would go with the one with the lucky egg. And then
No, sorry, we got a bit of lag. Just keep going for a little bit. Whatever else you got to say on this one.
not much. I think it's kind of come down to individual taste. Maybe people who are different, who are further along in the game or play it more frequently, will have different opinions on what's most useful to you.
Well, any thoughts from anyone in the chat room or watching this on replay? Let us know. All right, I have a couple miscellaneous things that I got there. So I mentioned remote raid passes. I had picked up after the Terrakion experience. It did not sour me enough to keep me from buying more. I bought a pack of 3, and I used 2 of them. One of them I used on it's the Craniodos, I think. One of the fossil evolutions from Sinnoh. That was a level 2 raid. I was again by myself, but I managed to do it actually relatively easily. I don't think it even got my first Pokemon knocked out, which was a Machamp, which is obviously a pretty good matchup. And then I tried out this Floatzel, which is a level 3 raid, and despite the difficulty, I almost managed to get it down. I lost my Pokemon, which were not quite strong enough, and I lost time when I ran out of Pokemon and tried to get back in there. I just didn't have enough in there to finish it off in the time allotted. What I did try afterwards was I would go in there, and then if no one showed up, I would back out at like the 20-second mark and then go back in again. And unfortunately, I still didn't get anyone in there, so that was kind of unfortunate. Some other stuff I caught, I got a Dwebble, so that's a Unova Pokemon. I got a Pharaoh Seed. You can see down there. I think I hatched that out of an egg early in the day. And then they've got this Lucario Mask Pikachu thing going on here. I'm not sure what quite the deal. I guess it's cute and stuff like that.
I don't think.
But I forget what is going on with that. Go ahead, Anne.
I don't think Lucario's coming out in anything like a special episode or a movie or anything. So yeah, it is a little surprising.
Yeah, they did put Lucario and the Mystery Mew on Pokemon TV recently, so maybe that was part of but that was probably the tie-on to this or something like that. They've done a lot of these hat type things with Pokemon and stuff like that. So, excuse me. So let's see. I think I had a couple takeaways. Curveballs are less hard. And the remote raid pass, I'm going to give it some more tries and see what else I can do with it, because I am within range of a couple of gyms that are on I don't know the exact ranges on it, but you can definitely get to a couple out there. Okay, and then, so those are kind of my thoughts for this month. Did want to mention that, let's see, yesterday, Ann and I did a discussion of the music of Hey You Pikachu for the N64. That is on this channel, but it was also part of the Pokecast Network charity live stream yesterday. That was a lot of fun. We got to talk about the music of the game and stuff like that. They're doing another event this upcoming Saturday, the 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern. They're doing a trivia night. I'm not sure exactly how all that is going to work, but they did one a month or two ago where they're kind of experimenting with various things. So I recommend you check that out if you are interested. Okay. That should take care of the slideshow. Yes, it does. Okay. Stop sharing. Okay. You don't need to see nothing embarrassing or anything like that, but usually when I close the slideshow, it just automatically comes back to here. This time it did not. Okay, so Anne, are you ready to get going for the? Do you want to do the post game, the post discussion on the Hey You Pikachu? Are you ready to do that?
Yes, happily.
Okay. All right, so we're going to reconfigure here for just a moment. If you just give us a moment or two. All right, thanks, and we'll stay on the line. I'll probably wind up splitting these videos. Okay, so yeah, we've got the slightly different setup here for this portion of the thing here. Let me readjust my volume here just a shade to get that a little bit. Oh, right there. All right. So leave a little bit of a pause, and then we'll start sort of our game discussion on Hey You Pikachu. And I appreciate you coming around and taking care of this right about now. So, all right, so leave a little pause, and I'll sort of go from there. Okay, so despite Anne not having a ton of experience, or really any experience with Hey You Pikachu, we are still going to talk about the game itself. Like I said, I rather enjoyed it, and like I said, I rather enjoyed it, and I know it has somewhat of a very divisive opinion. Some folks just don't even get the point, and some folks really love it. And had you played this back then, do you think you would have really liked it, or how would that have gone with you? You think?
I think I would have liked it, especially since I really love the aspects where you can play with your Pokemon and take care of them after the battle in some more frequent iterations of the game. Back then, we didn't have that. So I think I would have been all over that game if I did have the chance to play it.
Do you have any other? So I guess I should ask, what about the voice recognition aspect? First of all, do you have any other experience with like voice recognition? Like, do you use it with your phone and stuff like that, or?
I don't, and I don't like have a smart device in my house. But as far as video games, not to the extent that Hey You Pikachu, but I have played some video games with a voice recognition aspects to them. Usually things like Phoenix Wright, where it's like you can have that option to verbally issue your commands of what you want to do, but you don't have to. Um, so I'm actually a little surprised that since Hey You Pikachu did as did have such an opportunity to interact with the game via voice control, that more video games didn't adapt that technology as platforms got more sophisticated and gaming got more sophisticated. Or maybe they did and I just didn't play any of those games. But it's kind of strikes me thinking back at how simplistic voice commands were in games I have played since the coming out of Hey You Pikachu. Um, Even now, I don't think it's a big market or a big draw of game development. And you'd think it would be something that we could do more easily.
I think part of that may just be the sort of technical hurdles. We mentioned this game only came out in Japan and the United States. I think if they wanted to release it in Europe, they would have had to do many more languages. I think that even back then that might have been a legal requirement. So the only other place they can maybe put this out might have been like Australia or New Zealand, something like that, just because of the things there. Now there are companies like Dragon and stuff like that that sort of specialize in text to speech and other similar types of mechanics and stuff like that. And so they have stuff like that if they wanted to make a new game here. I think the other like voice recognition game that gets a lot of notoriety is like Seaman for the Sega Dreamcast. that one has a bit more of an edgy quality to it for sure. And it's also actually the voiceover is done by Leonard Nimoy of all folks. Um, so it's kind of a maybe a more grown up version of Hey You Pikachu, or at least it tries to be. It has some very odd aspects to it as well. So I guess that's something to try. But there were some stuff where you could give voice commands on the DS and like some of the cooking games. I know that, and yeah, the
Hmm.
Phoenix Wright games you could yell objection, um, which I'm
Which was
not sure how
delightfully
detailed.
fun.
Not sure how detailed the logic was there. I guess we should talk about, people when you watch the anime, which was definitely an influence on Hey You Pikachu specifically. Would you want to be able to, in the main series games, be able to call out your attacks verbally rather than using a menu? Do you think that would get really tiring after a certain point, or what do you think, Anne?
Well, I think if you had the option um to call them out verbally and then at other times like just toggle it off and just play the way we always have, think I think that could be a lot of fun. It's only tiring if you don't have the option to do something else. Um, so as long as the option of remained available to be able to press a button, I think a lot of people would find that they enjoyed it from time to time, or to be able to interact with their Pokemon after battles, to like say something to them in the way that you pet the Pokemon or feed it a berry or whatever.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of taking at it. Like I said, that's the one thing I've heard folks who've had to use like text to speech for extended periods of time, and it sometimes has worn their voice out. Um, but and where's I about to go with that? Oh, but I guess one of the things with doing it, if Nintendo or some other company were to partner with a company like Dragon, stuff like that does like professional level voice recognition and speech to text and stuff like that, they could. Those newer programs have like training algorithms and stuff like that adjust
Mhm.
to your average voice. Because even here in America, there are probably 8 or 10 or 12 different semi-distinct accents of various varieties out there, and it can be difficult to write a game around all of that. I do know that, for example, I think this game did not demo well at trade shows like E3 back in the day, simply because of the noisy environment made things difficult. So um, a lot of stuff there. Let's talk about some of the actual activities in the game then. Um, the actual interactions are honestly kind of simplistic. Like you can do fishing and tell Pikachu to pull harder or let it go or stuff like that, or manipulate objects. What did you think of all that, Anne?
Um, I really like the concept of all those things. I think on the episode itself, you and I were talking about how you can go shopping, but you have to tell Pikachu what you want to buy and direct him to buy it. And so I think there was the opportunity for it to get a little frustrating for people from time to time. Um, but I really like that general idea. I love the idea of going out and gathering food and fishing and like just being able to play games with your Pokemon. But I'm also really into those kinds of Animal Crossing, Breath of the Wild type games where it's kind of you just run around and do fun things. So I really think that this game kind of taps into a lot of those um, things that are very fun for certain gamers.
And I guess the next logical question, last I heard, I don't think you had a Switch yet. Have you gotten then? Have you tried a chance to try out the camping feature in Sword and Shield?
My roommate has a Switch. That is my next step is to beg her to let me play it. And so stay tuned. But no, I am very excited.
I mean, there are some definite similarities. You can throw around certain objects, certain toys.
Yeah.
You can also
Mhm.
obviously cook, which is a little more detailed than what they do in this game with Bulbasaur, and so on. But still some definite similarities in some of the side stuff there. So I think there is some potential for them to revisit this idea for this game. I'm not sure if they want to do it directly. We'll talk more about what Hey You Pikachu would be like without the voice interaction in sometime in the future when we talk about Pokemon Channel, which is a very similar game without that mechanic in there. So we'll see how that one goes. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on whether they should really revisit this type of game because there's a fair bit of risk to it, and whether it would actually work out. Anne, what do you think?
Um, for me, I vote yes because I would really love to see them redo this game with more modern technology, more sophisticated technology, better graphics, better voice recognition, like wider map, more things to do, more places to explore. And I think if they could pull off what they did back when Hey You Pikachu released and some of the things I see coming out of video games now, I don't think it would be that hard for them to make a game that was enjoyable. Maybe not as perfect as we all uh, maybe not as perfect as it is in my mind. But you know, a very fun video game. But again, I like those types of video games. So maybe it is a game that does not appeal to everybody. And as you say, that makes it a bit of a risk if something is a little clunky from time to time, um, if it's not perfect.
Yeah, so only I think time will tell whether we get a true follow up to Hey You Pikachu. Obviously, they did Channel, and then they did the Pokepark series, and then they did Detective Pikachu, and we're supposed to be getting a sequel to that at some point. Maybe that'll be coming out this fall, since it sounds like they're not going to do another full fledged Pokemon game in favor of the DLC for Isle of Sky or whatever it's called. So we'll see where all that leads. All right. Well, thank you very much, Anne.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I think that about is going to cover this live stream. Thanks to everyone who took a look here. Like I said, I'll probably wind up splitting this into two parts, but I'll cover some things with Anne. And Anne, thank you very much for coming in for not just the game discussion portion, but also the Pokemon Go Community Day stuff. I like doing recaps of these each month just to sort of check in with my audience as well. All right, well, thank you very much, folks.